President Cyril Ramaphosa has applauded Rand Water for creating almost 900 jobs with the launch of a new water purification plant in Vereeniging. Ramaphosa, alongside the Water and Sanitation Minister, Pemmy Majodina, officially unveiled the phase 2 of the R5-billion Water Zuikerbosch plant. Joining me for a discussion is Water and Sanitation Deputy Minister, Mahlobo. Deputy Minister, thank you so much for joining us this evening. And if you could please start by expanding on this project and how widespread it is. I believe it's covering up to 4 provinces.
No, thank you very much, and a very good evening to you, Masa. And we wish you and all our women in our country a happy Women's Day as we celebrate the 69th anniversary of the Women's March. We're very pleased that in the month of August, His Excellency, our President, with Minister Majodina and ourselves and the premiers, we opened one of the biggest pump stations that will give us additional 600 million liters per day. This is in response to ensuring that there is a water security for our country, especially for the 19 million citizens of Gauteng, Mpumalanga, some parts of Free State and some part of Northwest, which is the coverage for Rand Water. This is being done in anticipation of the additional water that we shall receive in the integrated Vaal River system from the construction of the Polyhali Dam in Lesotho as part of phase 2. Rand Water has responded on time because by this time around, in the year 25-26, we should have delivered the water from the Lesotho. But because of delays, that water will be coming into our country in the year 28-29. And we're very pleased that this was done on budget by South Africans, in the main, led by CEOs, who was a black CEO, with a lot of women engineers and scientists and structural engineers, and we by the institution of the state. And the most important aspect now is the municipalities, they must prepare themselves with the secondary infrastructure in terms of their reservoirs, their pumps, so that they can be in a position that when Rand Water receive this additional water that will be coming from that Lesotho Highland scheme, municipalities will not be having any excuses not to be in a position to provide their people, but also more importantly, for the industries that can be in a position to benefit, especially in the 4 provinces. That's why even sectors like Sosol, Coca-Cola, and others, they were part of this important event with His Excellency the President yesterday.
Interesting. So this is phase 2 that has been completed, and you spoke about timelines of 2028, 2029 when it comes to the Lesotho Highlands project. For this project in particular, how soon will people on the ground be able to feel these effects of the 600 million liters of water?
What has happened in the other phase that we did, we were able to launch more than 150 megaliters, which is 150 million liters per day that is already in the system. And as we currently speak now, Rand Water, just from that system itself, they are able to give from pump station 1 until to this one, they are able to give more than 600 million megaliters per day. Therefore, that water in the instances is already available. But the problem we have that we've been trying to address with the Premier of Gauteng and the other premiers is the way some of these municipalities that are benefiting from this infrastructure, because Rand Water per day, it gives them more than 5.2 billion liters. But if we are going to have these municipalities losing half of that particular water that they get because of the infrastructure that is not in good condition, but more importantly, the issues of illegal connection, the reservoirs that cannot be in a position to keep water at a standard procedure of 60%. These are some of the issues when we look at the reforms around local government and in terms of water, especially that intervention by President that is following the intervention at Tegwini. Now there's a Johannesburg intervention called a presidential working group. You can see Eguruleni is responding very well. The non-revenue water is coming down. Johannesburg is investing billions of rand around the issues of additional storage facilities, so we don't have problem. But municipalities still remain our area of concern, whether they will be in a position to ensure they are ahead of the curve so that when additional capacity on water security, but for relocation and in terms of the reliability of supply, we don't have challenges.
And on that, challenges of municipalities as well, because while there are these efforts that are being made, such as this project of the phase 2 that was launched yesterday, when it comes down to the ground and it comes to the infrastructure problems as well, do you feel that it's almost null and void because you're coming up with these great initiatives at a top level, at a high level, and then at a lower level, at a local municipality level where people are supposed to feel those effects of that water? I mean, 5.2 billion litres from Rand water to municipalities, but still that not being utilised efficiently. Is there anything more that you can do as a department in terms of interacting with municipalities and perhaps COGTA?
We are working together. President, because of how he views these matters, he decided that water is priority issue number 1. He assigned his Deputy President, Comrade Pemmy Majodina, to head the issues of water. There is a special reform around issues of reform for water sector, but also fixing of local government. As we are quite aware, we don't have an option. We shall support these municipalities to ensure that their leaders, they come to the party. Comrade Panyaza Lesuf as our premier. We're meeting every Sunday. On Wednesday, MEC Mamabula and other premiers are following suit in terms of war rooms in dealing with these issues so that water can be run as a business and working with communities. But we're also looking to say, where will the additional resources? Because some of these municipalities, when it comes to financial liquidity, they're not doing well. Hence, next week, our minister and our president and other president of the continent, we shall be hosting in Cape Town Africa Investment Summit as part of our presidents for G20, trying to raise about $30 billion per annum, which is a gap for us to be able to meet the SDGs. But equally, municipalities must ensure that the current system must, as we are currently aware, there's too much losses happening in the system. But those who work in the system, they must be of top quality, must be employees that are fit for purpose, because this issue of water business is more technical, and it needs those people that will be able to manage the assets and manage them well. But more importantly, leadership of all our municipalities. We must work with communities, because if we don't build resilient communities that will be able to play their part, especially issues of illegal connection, the mafias that are happening there, the extortion, the sabotage of infrastructure, including the culture of non-payment by those who can afford to pay. These are some of the issues as part of our turnaround, as we did our water indaba around the month of March, which was a human rights month, and the water month. But these are some of the things. But if municipalities, they fail, we don't have an option. As national government, we shall intervene, because we will not be in a position to say it's their responsibility when the rights of citizens are violated. Those are the instructions that President has given us. Mfuleni, one of the municipalities that are struggling, we've intervened now in terms of an SPV. Rand Water is coming in with its balance sheet in terms of the capability of its employees. Then we have that special arrangement that has been approved by National Treasury, and other municipalities are also looking at that, including involvement of the private sector, but without privatizing water. But we need to open up the water system, because if municipalities can't perform, they have an impact even on the issues of the economy.
Absolutely. And before I let you go, Deputy Minister, I'd like to also get an update on another major project by the department, the Giyani Water Services Project. And apparently that's around 90% to completion, if I'm correct?
We are very pleased. Unfortunately, there were delays and the issues that particular area became a crime scene. Currently, 24 villages by the end of September. Currently, 24 villages, all of them, they have water. And more importantly, there are certain areas that are snake this, like we are saying, we are at 90%, where they need to test the bulk pipeline, because all the taps are already there. They just have to test them, because Water is very sensitive because it works with pressure. But as a department, we're not going to get out of Guyana. We've made a determination that we're going to engage on phase 2 of the project to assist those municipalities of under Mopani that are actually having no financial capability, where we'll actually spend about 3 billion rands over the next 3 years again to ensure that more villages are covered, because in the main, the population of that particular province has increased very exponentially.
Deputy Minister, thank you so much for your time this evening. That, of course, was David Mahlobo, who is the Deputy Minister for the Department of Water and Sanitation.